The name of the podcast is the Network Marketing Show. So NM Show. Yeah, it's it's dangerous.
Who owns
Don't
the
move.
studio, man? This is crazy.
So I'm gonna need you, like you saying the NM Show in order to at the end to create like a yeah, you'll see.
Okay.
So just say 1, 2, 3.
The NM Show.
Okay, that's good. So welcome to this episode of this podcast of the NM Show. Here we are with the legend himself, Danien Feier. And it's crazy because, bro, if I can record this podcast, it's just because of you for two reasons. The first reason is if I wouldn't have achieved all these goals and diamond and everything, I wouldn't have the time and the connections to do this podcast. And it's thanks to you that you mentored me. And the second thing is that you literally own this podcast. Like
the studio.
Yes.
Well, I'm grateful that you're here and that you're doing it, and I'm grateful for. I mean, I believe all the listeners are grateful too. So.
Yeah. So let's jump deep in the topic I've prepared for you. I have some nice questions, some tough questions. We're gonna share some value. We're gonna talk about your opinion about certain things. So, I read your book like 2 years ago, even if we already knew each other. But I was interested because, when you know a person is a thing, is completely different when you know the whole story from a book.
Yes.
Even Stefania, I know her since, I don't know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but I discovered most of the things I know about her, I know it about thanks to the book, So
I found out stuff about reading her book. So when I read her book, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, now I get it. So
you were already married.
Yeah, like 10 years plus.
That's crazy. So the thing that blew my mind when I read the book, it was that you actually quit network marketing for a while.
Yes.
And it's crazy because I thought that all the successful people in the industry were people that started the business and never quit it. So tell me more about your story, like why you quitted, how come that you decided to come back in the business.
Yeah. So I got started when I was 18 years old, and I worked in network marketing for about 3 to 4 years. So that was like till I was like 21 years old, I believe. And I worked at Deutsche Bank in Frankfurt, and I was obviously a student at the same time. And then eventually I had to quit all of that to go full time in network marketing. So my belief was obviously high, and my hopes was high and everything. And at that time, I was making about $3,000, I want to say. I thought, because I was working part-time, and for everybody working part-time, if you're really serious, eventually you get annoyed that you're just part-time. You're like, oh my God, I wish I had more time to dedicate to the business. Like you can work like, I don't know what, 3 hours a day. And in my mind was like, I'm making 3 hours a day of effort and I'm making $3,000 a month. So if I just had 10 hours a day, I could make 10,000, that was the idea. And so...
And it is like that?
Definitely not. Absolutely not like that. And that's exactly what I found out. And that's where my expectation disconnected from reality and when a huge disappointment came in. So I went full time. And the interesting thing, you can be very effective as a part-time network marketer and then be completely lost as a full-time network marketer, because it's almost like a job or a steady income gives you some type of a safety at least. It's not much, you'll never be free, but it gives you that, that safety net. Exactly. And then if all of a sudden everything's on you, which is like the dream, that's what you want, but then can you really handle it? And in the beginning, I couldn't. I didn't even know what to do the entire day. It was like all this time was available all of a sudden, plus all the pressure, every income, everything now had to come from this, everything now had to be paid from this. So what happened is I put myself under massive pressure. I remember that. It got so bad that literally every second I wouldn't work, I would feel guilty. Like if I take 5 minutes off, I would already start feeling guilty. And of course, there's only so much you can do. And I'm all about the hustle, and I also know relaxing now. But back at the day, I didn't know that, and I put myself under a lot of pressure. And it was also like, let's say for example, I went out in the city and I saw like a well-dressed guy, like in a suit or something, like somebody looking cool or somebody successful. Immediately my mind said, if you want to be successful, you have to go talk to this person. But I'm a very introvert person. I don't like to talk to strangers on the street and everything like that. But in my mind was like, if I'm not able to do that, I'm not going to be able to be successful. And so I tried to get outside of my comfort zone like way too much. I felt very uncomfortable doing it. I put myself under huge pressure. I thought that I'm not good enough, I'm not going to make it. And then I started to listen to advice from people that are not successful in the business, but outside of the business, like successful people in real estate. And they're all like, hey, didn't you know network marketing doesn't really work, bro? It doesn't really work. It's just, there's these stories, but in Germany, bro, nobody does network marketing. The same story about Italy and everywhere, right?
Yeah, every single country.
The problem is I eventually started to not believe that, but at least grow enough doubt in me whether the business is actually going to really work, or maybe it worked in the past, but it doesn't work anymore. It's funny, 23 years ago, right? Or 21 years ago. And also the doubt if I'm maybe not good enough to do it. And so because of all that pressure, I didn't really enjoy it. And then what happened next was I got to know a guy that was very successful. I mean, he was living another level life. I remember he was renting a beautiful ground floor of a villa right at the park in one of the most successful areas outside of Frankfurt. And I remember his rent payment, this is going to be funny, was 3,000 euros a month. And at that time, I was like, what? Who in the world pays 3,000 euros in rent? That is crazy. And the guy had a Range Rover, and the guy had a Porsche, and the guy built for big like celebrities. He built homes, and so I started to get friends with this guy, and he ultimately gave me an opportunity to start in real estate with him, and I took the opportunity, and I didn't because I just so desperately wanted to be successful. And he was at a different level. He had the watches like you have now, right, and stuff.
I could be that.
Yeah, you could be that guy. So and so I just wanted to spend more time with him, and then we started, and I didn't consciously decide, oh, now I'm going to quit network marketing. But the reality is we ended up building a real estate company from zero, 24/7, and just naturally I just stopped. And then eventually that was it. Like I was out, and I was out for a good time. I was out for more than 2 years, like really zero income anymore.
So you never told yourself like I quit the network marketing.
It wasn't like one day, today I quit. It was more like a process of...
So you realized after 1 year, oh, I quit it.
Yeah, I basically stopped, and I kept using some of the products. Fun fact, I'm still using some of the products today from that first company, right? You know that. But at the end of the day, I just quit. And the truth is, I lost the belief that it would actually work for me.
Okay, and so how then you changed your mind and you decided to...
Yeah, that's great. So my number one thing was to become successful. I so badly wanted to become successful, okay? And so now I worked in this real estate company, and I was an employee. I was a 25%, not really owner of the company, but I had an agreement that 25% of the profit would go to me, okay? So I was basically working as a partner in the company, which gave me like a huge opportunity if we were going to be successful. And we built this for years, for 2 years, 3 years, something like this. And eventually we started to make money. And in the beginning it was tough. I remember we wouldn't make any money for probably the first 8 months, to the point where all my savings were drained. All my credit cards were maxed out. And at some point I went to my friend's house and I was like, bro, I need food. Like, you guys got food? Because I can't even, like, nothing. My cards are all I can't even go shop. Like, I can't even go to the supermarket.
Yeah, and I guess, I don't know, but what usually happens is that when you are in network marketing and you look at other businesses outside, you think, oh, if I start there, I will immediately make
Yeah,
5,000 a month, 10,
Yeah, yeah.
10,000 a month. You were thinking like that?
I wasn't thinking about that particularly, but I was thinking, man, that's a different business. That's where you can make the real money. And network marketing is like the joke money, right? It's not like the in the real business is when you make like the real money. That was my belief. When then obviously I believed more in like real estate business than network marketing at that time. So fun fact is we went through the same hard time, same no money, same nothing, and we were like a team working 14 hours a day and all that. So when eventually we started to make money, the funny thing is everything that we agreed upon, all the agreements, all the money that I was supposed to make, now all of a sudden it wasn't like that. Now there was all this discussions, and the peak was this when we finally had some success and some money, and my partner took out like 220,000 euros to buy a brand new Porsche, okay? And he made a party and all of that, and we were all happy and celebrating it. And in my mind I was like, I'm happy because he took 220,000 like profits. I get 25%. So if he's taking 220, I'm getting what?
50.
I don't know what. Yeah, something like that, right? Or 60. I don't know. So I'm like, payday is coming, like awesome. I was happy. And in the end, I was like, so when am I going to get my money? And he was like, what money? I was like, bro, what are you talking about? We have a like 25. He said, that's not a profit. We bought this car for the company. It's a company car. This is not profit. I'm like, bro, are you being for real right now? Like, are you like actually honest with me, or like are we like
It's a
partners?
joke.
It's a joke, right? So, and no, he was serious about this, and of course, I'm making a long story very short now, and we also did make money together and all this, but there were more and more of these instances where I realized if the company's going to be massively successful, I'm never going to have my fair share, because there was this underlying belief that I don't deserve it in his eyes, because he was the professional and I was just the young kid started, but that was the agreement. And I felt like in his heart, he really didn't want to honor that, right? And so I had to take a tough decision to say, this is not going to be my future. And here's the thing, I knew they were going to be successful. And in fact, they're the biggest real estate company in Mallorca right now, in like that company. Imagine this, right?
Really?
But I knew that when I left, that I will never regret. I decided I'll never regret, because it doesn't even matter, even if they make millions and millions and millions, I will never get my fair share. I knew that. And that's when I started to miss network marketing, because it was tough to make money there from my experience, because I worked so much for 3,000 euros, right? But at least there was no discussion about the money. The computer just pays. It doesn't matter. You don't have to like hide your income. And in fact, on the other hand, you were celebrated for success. It wasn't the same way in a traditional business. You have to like hide how much you make, because we had like architects that studied for like 6 years, making less money than I was. So I couldn't really say, because me, I have no education, it's interesting. So all these dynamics, or back in the day, my favorite car was a Nissan 350Z. Remember that car?
Still your favorite car?
Yeah, still today my favorite car, right after Honda Civic. No, but and I remember the first time I had money, I wanted to buy that, and the guy was like, "No, you can't. This does not work in real estate. Like, your clients are gonna think this is not reputable." And he's actually correct. It's true. It's weird if you want to like build a home and the guy's coming in the 350Z. It's weird. You want him to come in a Range Rover, like, right? But I realized you have to become a certain role in order to make that business work. Network marketing is different.
You're not free at all.
You can
there.
express yourself. You can just be yourself. And I love that. And I miss that. And I love the computer paying me. No discussion, no agreements, right? So that's how I started to miss it again. And then eventually got a phone call from a person that I respected a lot in the business. She used to be like a president's team member in the company before. And she was like, man, there's a new company coming. You got to look at this and all that. And that's when I kind of got interested again. And I went back.
Was it Manavi?
Actually, no, it was a company where I ended up not even building. But that was the initial phone call. And it was actually Zango, if you remember that.
Okay, no, I don't know.
Yeah. But that's how it piqued my interest. And then after all this time, I took my first holiday, like literally after 3 years. I was like, I just need a week out, and I went to Dubai. My first time in my life, I went to Dubai.
What year? Like,
wow, man, I was 22. Long time ago, right?
yeah.
So I'm 39 now. What is that? 17 years ago?
17 years.
Yeah. So I went to Dubai just because I kind of always wanted to go there. And while I was here,
There was nothing here at the time, right?
I mean, there was something, but
Burj Al Arab was already...
Burj Al Arab was that completed in that completed in 2000. Burj Al Arab, yeah. So anyways, and I was here, and imagine this, like fate, right? There was the second International Direct Selling Festival from the Institute of Direct Selling in the Middle East, exactly in that week that I was here. What a coincidence. The second ever hosted in the region. So I went there and I saw all these network marketing companies and like lots of Asian companies like DXN, and like I was a tiny Chinese lady coming up to me, can I show you DXN? I was like, what? Can I show you DXN? And I didn't understand what she was talking about. She's drawing circles and stuff. And then she showed me a check like $50,000, like the tiny Chinese lady. And I was like, I gotta figure out this business. Like, how the hell? Like, how's that possible, right? So that's when I decided, and I quit from my I had a BlackBerry in the time. I quit the real estate. I was like, I'm not coming back from Dubai, and I didn't know what I was going to do.
Like the scene of the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes.
If
you show me a check
of 70,
I'm a quit right now. That's what I did on BlackBerry. I'm not coming back. Done, and I was free. It was also scared because I didn't know what I was going to do. But that's how I decided to come back. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing story. And like, cause when I was at the beginning of my experience, like my first 3 years, 4 years in network marketing, I remember that like one day, almost every day, I was thinking like, oh, I'm too late in the process. Like, oh, it's already 4 years. I'm already 4 years in the business, and I'm not still making good money.
Yes.
And it's crazy that you were literally started from scratch again after 5 years.
Yeah, something like that. Easy. But I was in it for 3 years. I was out for two and a half years. So right after 5 years, I started again from zero.
So since the beginning to the first month that you started making like the first time you thought, okay, I made it.
Let's say 10,000.
10,000
was after 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Bro.
So not quick, right?
No, pretty slow.
Exactly. But you know what's also interesting? And I want to talk about this because in today's time, you have a lot of fast stories. Right? You look everywhere. Even now in our company, people come in and just boom, they explode.
It's almost normal now making 10,000 a month.
Exactly. But then guess what? It's not normal for a lot of people still, though. It's normal for some. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of examples now. So we're just organizing this special dinner for our next convention, like invitation only. People that make 10,000 a month or more that can come, directors and above. And we asked for the company that's fine that level, and they're saying we're not sure because we're not sure we can host everybody in that location, because there's just so many people making 10K. So that goes to your point. It becomes normal. But then you also think, even if hundreds of people are making 10K, there's still thousands of people that don't. And I was one of those, right? Plus times today are different. There's more success, quicker, faster. Very true. But still. So I think my story also should give hope to people that are in the business for years and they're just not yet a superstar. They're not yet the big shot. They're not yet the one having the big teams and all that.
You know, sometimes I think in the past people were much more patient and they were having a long-term mindset because you didn't have social media.
Yeah,
you know, now sure. you look at social media and everybody looks like he's making a lot of money, but it's not like that.
But the whole thing, I mean, it's even attention span. You look at that. Back in the day, I remember, bro, the first business presentations that we recorded and sent to people were 1 hour. 1 hour videos. Imagine now you send a 1 hour video to somebody. They'll be like, no, I will never watch this. Like, it's still a mystery to me how people watch a Joe Rogan episode of 3 hours and 20 minutes. Like, I think it's fascinating, right? I got to really put my mind to it to do that. Because our attention span is like 1.5 seconds per reel, right? Something like that. So times have changed for sure, but fundamental principles of success haven't. Even if you make a quick success or a quick run or good momentum, if you want to become and stay successful, it is going to be a long run. And you're going to have to find the grit to do that persistently, and that has not changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Okay, so just to make the long story short,
yes.
So after 8 years, you achieved your first
10,000.
10,000.
Yes.
And then when your first 100,000?
Okay, so let me think. So when I achieved 10,000, in a lot of my people saw that, and that kind of break a mental barrier. And people say, "Oh my God, if you can do it, I can do it." And in the next 6 months, I had 16 people go 5 digits. And I went up to 24. And that was just 6 months later. So from 10 to 24,000 just
Just
6 months
because
after that.
you unlocked in their mind
They
the
saw me,
possibility
yes,
of doing
100%,
it.
100%. Because they knew I wasn't the guy making 10K. And all of a sudden I was. And I was just with them, right? In the office. Like, it's like everybody works together and we would always meet. And, you know, somebody broke through. All of a sudden people could see that. And the first time 100,000, I can tell you that was the first run. That was the first 90-day run, that historic run that everybody talks about with Eric Worre, that whole story. We got to look up when that video was, but I want to say like 9 years ago from now back. So if you, at the time, so then let's say that, we have to really look it up. I don't know exactly, but let's say that was 9 years ago from now. So that would be somewhat around 215. I want to say probably even earlier, let's say 214. So, and then I started in 2003, so let's say 3 years later. Something like that, yeah.
You were
And
11
that's
years
plus
old
minus
in the
something,
business.
something
Okay.
like that, yeah.
Okay, cool. Till now that you have tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. So, okay, and so your whole experience in network marketing is something like 20 years.
Total experience, yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, after 20 years, what do you think is your worst decision in your career and the best decision in your career? About talking only about
Yeah.
network marketing.
Yeah. That's very
Tough
interesting.
question.
Yeah. I mean, the best is easy, the worst is difficult. Because I don't really know the single worst decision. I obviously know some bad decisions. But then at the end of the day, you know this thing when you say you either win or you learn, right? And some things you have to learn. If you don't learn them, it don't make you the person that you are now. So I can't really say. I mean, there's so many bad decisions in the beginning. For example, in the beginning, I was like, all right, I'm obviously never going to make 10,000 a month. That was clear, right? So, but what if I make 1,000 in 10 companies? so I started.
So you tried that?
I did that. And not 10,
No way.
not 10, but like 4. When I was at like number 4 at the same time.
You were making 0, 0, 100,
Bro,
and 0?
of course, I was making like 134 here and 55 there and 400 here, and it's a mess. Thanks God, one of my sponsors in ACN, that I get everybody on there, because I was like, I need 10 businesses that support each other. So like, one is selling the supplements, the next one is taking care of your telephone bill, the next one is your gas, the next one
Oh,
is
this
your...
is one of the worst ideas I've
I
ever
know,
heard
I've
about.
done that. It doesn't work, guys, okay? So don't build multiple things at the same time. It just doesn't work. And funny enough, I've done that kind of similar mistake just 2 years ago too. When the big business, like when Jeunesse was sold, we were kind of unsure what we're going to do, you know the story, and we tried to do one thing, but it wasn't really 100% where we trusted, and so we kept the other thing. So it was kind of like we're doing two things. I hate it this time. Oh my God, I hate it. So the worst decision, that's for sure one, is to not be just focused on a single network marketing company. You can have other investments, you can have other hobbies, you can be whatever in sport or whatever, but your mind needs to be clear on what you're recruiting for. Like, what are you building? If you're having multiple things, I think it's a big, even energy-wise, this is terrible, right? Best decision, I want to say, the commitment to become a master recruiter, because it was always tough for me to recruit and to find people to join. Like I think almost everybody, only some very talented people, to them it comes easy. For me, it always came very hard to recruit. And at some point, I took the decision that I want to be able to recruit on demand. And if right now, if you tell me, Danien, you got to put 10 new front lines, I just got to sit down and do it. It's just the effort now, but it's not anymore the question, will I find somebody or whatnot? And the commitment to become a master recruiter has really, I want to say, it was the best decision. Why? It gave me the ultimate freedom in network marketing, and it also gave me the power to rebuild. And you've seen me rebuild things, and not just build, but rebuild, which is what nobody tells you. Everybody says you have to build it once and it's going to stay forever. Nothing's going to stay forever. So sometimes stuff happens that's outside of your control. Sometimes it's stuff that's inside your control. But if for sure one thing, if you're not able to rebuild, it's not going to happen. And yeah, so that was a very good decision that I did that.
This probably is one of the major lessons I've learned from you, because I was talking with the team a few days ago. We had the retreat here, and I was doing some math, and it's crazy because even if I'm not a crazy recruiter. You know, I don't recruit 10 people a month.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but I learned like 2 years ago, 1 year ago, sorry, when I launched Jifu, from you this kind of mindset, like you need to add people, you need to have
Yes.
to always feel in control, because if you depend from people's volume of your team right now, then they lead you and you don't lead them, you know.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's crazy because right now, after only 1 year, and you know, I've built the team I had like during 7 years, and then I'm now 1 year with you in Jifu, and it's crazy because I have now 13 first lines making good ranks,
Mm-hmm.
and around 50% of the volume is coming from all the new front lines.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And I didn't. I had the belief that this was impossible. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I already have big leaders.
It's been my same experience over all these years, which is so crazy. And not just now, not just the last 2 years. It's actually more impressive that it is still true the last 2 years. But even I go back 15 years. I remember exiting Herbalife, my first company. I remember clearly I had 74 people. And when I then started the new thing after I came back, I still had the papers from all 74. I called every single one of them. Bro, there was no significant volume coming from any of these people later. So I had to re-recruit and then re-recruit. And it's just the nature of things. Of course, over the years, you build meaningful relationships. People come back that left, which is a story we had too, right? So that's very important as well. But you can just never stop building and rebuilding. But because you get better, it becomes easier. Right, that's the truth.
Yeah, that's true too. Like even the quality of people you recruit
100%, 100%.
is different.
You just stop recruiting certain people at some point where in the beginning you would fight for. Right, that's just normal. Yeah.
Just one last question, and
Okay.
we are fine. Like we can do other episodes in the future, you know.
Let's make one final.
So
one.
if this video achieve enough, reach enough likes and views, we're gonna do an episode 2. And hopefully we're gonna like you have an interview. I don't remember what kind. Maybe Eric Quarry interviewed you. Yeah. And that like I have a lot of leaders
Yeah.
of my teams telling me, "Oh, I watch that interview every day." But this is gonna be the
next one?
the next
Yeah.
one that people
It's a short one, but yeah.
will watch you on repeat. Yeah, like a question that I have is like, you know, I think you started building only in Germany, probably.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
During the first
Yeah.
years, like when and how you started going international, and do you think is something that you need to do later in the business when you already have team in your country, or since the beginning? What's your thought about this?
Yeah, so I was building in Germany only for a long time. And you know what's very funny? Still today, my main recruits and my main business is still Germany. After all these years, and I don't even live there for 13 years. So your roots are very, very important, and the roots always will stay very, very strong. Now, there was times in my business where Germany was not the number one market and not the biggest thing. But if I look at like my, it's just kind of like my go back market is always Germany, and I don't think that's very different in many leaders. Maybe that's for some. There's always exception to the rule, but there's a certain connection that you have. Now, what I do remember, desperately trying to build in another country, and it just wouldn't work. I did all these stupid things like, okay, there are companies doing a convention in Barcelona. Okay, great. I'm gonna go a week early, and I'm gonna talk to people on the street, or I'm gonna hand out flyers, or I'm gonna connect with people on Instagram before. I've just never seen that work, and there's always the one story that proves the exception, but it just didn't work for me. So I think the best thing is the very old quote: work locally, think globally. In other words, you can build so strong in your home market, it will eventually spread. Somebody will sign up someone. Someone will move. You yourself might move. And think about it. I moved from Germany to Dubai. And for the first years, because I didn't know anyone here or in the Middle East, for years, my German business would finance my life in Dubai. Only years after that, probably 5+ years later, I started to recruit Middle East business. But years later, right? So it's not something that is easy. People always think, oh, well, that's going to be easy because it's another country. No, it's harder because it's another country. The reality is you either need a leader there, or you need super strong connections that people just will stick and not quit. That's like family or something like that. Or you need yourself to be there for like a significant amount of time in order to be able to do that. Of course, when I got together with Stefania, her roots was Italy. She lived in Portugal. Her roots were in Italy. So of course we started to recruit Portuguese and Italian. That was easy then, but it was again local for her. You get it? So it's something that will come. Just here's what I would say. Don't worry about that too much. A foreign business isn't necessarily easier. At some point, it's exciting, of course, and you will get there. Just become the best version of yourself where you are, and don't even worry about it. It will come, right? But be successful in your home country. The rest will come.
It is
right?
being the same for me. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I tried during the last 3 or 4 years, and yeah, maybe sometimes I built some small team, but at the end, nothing special. And now during the last year that I didn't really focus on that.
All of a sudden it happens.
Yeah,
it just happens at some point, but you can't force it. Don't make all your videos in Chinese now and sponsor them on Facebook for the China. Like, it just doesn't work. I've never seen it work. It's truth.
Yeah, never ever. Okay, cool. So this is what was like mostly value. I wanted to ask a pair of question more like gossip, but we keep it for the next episode.
The next time. So make sure you like this video and you subscribe and you push this very video to the very front of the NM podcast. I want to see that from you, and then we're going to go into the gossip questions. How about that?
Yeah, because I have some tough
got a lot of
questions
them?
here.
All right.
Like, I don't know if Danny is going to show up if I show him the question.
All right, guys.
Cool.
See you soon.
Thank you,
Let's do
brother.
it.